Some more sporting news. We are thankful for the weather. It's hard to believe that today is the first official starting date for girls softball in high school Ohio. Next Monday is the official start date for Ohio high school baseball in the state of Ohio. With that being said, most of you know me as a baseball guy. I have a little story to tell you before I get started. A doctor at an insane asylum decided to take his patients to a baseball game. For weeks in advance, he coached his patients to respond to his commands. When the day of the game arrived, everything seemed to be going well. As the national anthem started, the doctor yelled, "Up, nuts," and the patients complied by standing up. After the anthem, he yelled, "Down, nuts," and they all sat back down in their seats. After a home run was hit, the doctor yelled, "Cheer, nuts." They all broke out into applause and cheered. When the umpire made a particularly bad call against the star of the home team, the doctor yelled, "Boo, nuts," and they all started booing. Thinking things were all going very well, the doctor decided to get a beer and a hot dog, leaving the assistant in charge. When he returned, there was a riot in progress. Finding his assistant, the doctors asked, "What in the world happened?" The assistant replied, "Well, everything was going just fine till the vendor passed by and yelled, 'Peanuts.'" Thank you again. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rocky Berkman. I'm a retired teacher, coach, athletic director, where I spent my entire career at Canyon South High School. During those 30 years, I was very fortunate to work for some amazing people. I also went to school there. As Mark Miller said a couple weeks ago, he played and spent his career with numerous Hall of Famers along the way. I too played for many of those Hall of Famers. I had the opportunity to play on Coach Red Ash's last basketball team, and we all know how that went. I was on the last team, as the story goes, and I also got to play on Bob Delap's first team as his being the head coach. I also played for Tim Miller. He was my idol, the reason I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. After graduation, I played baseball at Malone University for Bob Starcher. During my playing days at Malone, I got to play for Doug Miller and his dad, Ralph, during my 15-year playing career in the Canyon Class A League. That was a blessing, and truly a lot of memories. As an assistant coach, I coached with Coach Bob Delap, I coached with Tim Miller, I coached with Jack Fuller, I coached with Tim Mead at Walsh University. In 1994, I became the head baseball coach at Canyon South High School. In 14 years as a head coach, our teams won close to 250 games. My first win as a head coach happened to be in Tennessee on our spring trip. The pitcher that day was a young sophomore who was starting his first varsity game. He was blessed with a golden arm and just enough of an attitude that I don't think the moment bothered him one bit. Fast forward to the same young man's senior year. During the 1995-96 school year, his mother passed away. She was his biggest supporter. His dad was a hardworking employee of Malavite Excavating Company. I remember going to their home, sitting at the kitchen table with them and his sister. I told Mr. Murphy, "Don't worry about your son. We'll take care of him." I told him whenever he needed a meal or a place to sleep, he was welcome anytime at our home. At that time, my wife and I had 4 children. My 3 boys, they loved when Murph came around. My daughter on the other hand, had a different attitude toward him. She complained all the time about him teasing her and stinking up the bathrooms. At the same time, at school, second row, 4 seat back, Jason was in my classroom. He was in my DCT class, and for those of you that don't know what DCT is, it's diversified cooperative training. I had seniors that went to school half a day, and then I found them jobs so they could work the second part of their day. Most of the kids already had all their credits, so they took my class in order to make money and save to go to college. And that's exactly what Jason was doing. So I was able to at least keep my end of the promise to make sure he had some resemblance of a family. If you would have told me that 30 years ago, from that time, that I would be standing in front of the prestigious Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, introducing him as your speaker, I would have lost a lot of bets. I'll let him tell you how he got where he is now. I'm very proud to introduce to you my fourth son, who grew up on Village Street in Canton Township, Jason Murphy.
Wow. That's did not realize all the memories come flooding back from my sophomore year, giving Rocky his first win down in Tennessee. So between that and obviously talking about my mom, this is not how I wanted to start it, but sorry guys. First of all, thank you to Rocky Berkwin. One thing he did not, or did leave out is he is an obviously father figure to me with his family. On top of that, he's also an employee of mine right now currently. So he didn't have enough to do between Gail Berkwin, his wife, and 11 grandchildren and kids. So he needed to have a weekly paycheck, I guess. So even though he plays golf literally, I don't know, 60 weeks out of the year, I think. So. But he still gets, so when he called me and asked me if I needed anybody local that, could run around and do graphics for high schools and stuff like that we do for the Hall of Fame here in town, I said yes, absolutely, and had Rocky come on board. So sorry guys if I'm being a little choked up. Also, thank you to RJ for inviting me back. Talk a little bit about myself, how I grew up. The biggest thing about growing up in Canton South and Canton Local is the community. Everybody cared about each other. And I found out that firsthand when I was 18 years old. My mother passed away. Still to this day, as you can see, 30 years later, it still touches me hard. I think it'll be that way even when I'm hopefully 80 years old with my grandkids talking about it as well. Look around the people out here that I grew up around. Obviously, Andy Berkwin is like my second brother, pretty much. Mr. Kavesky, Mr. Eckinger, Coach Michael, Coach Doug Miller, guys I pitched against coming up in high school, and even in the A-League coming out. I remember I was 9 years old, and my first ever successful season of watching Canton South football was 1987 with Coach Miller was the head coach. And they had a great year that year with, I believe, quarterback Dave Arthur, I believe, sorry. And what I remember specifically about that year is how we got beat to a pulp in the playoffs against Akron Vogel with a guy who had a running back by the name of Ricky Powers. And I specifically remember watching Ricky Powers run all over us as a 9-year-old. And I thought to myself, that guy is going to be right down the street in the Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame one year. Obviously, he didn't get there, but he was just absolutely amazing. I remember watching him at 9 years old thinking to myself, geez, that kid is just amazing. Also, that same year, that following summer, is when the Canton Akron Indians came to town, down at Thurman Munson Stadium. Now, growing up where I lived off between Belden and Central Avenue, off of Village Street, I could literally ride my bike, down to Canton Akron, or Thurman Munson Stadium and watch Canton Akron A's at the time, now Arrows. Well, Akron Arrows now. I used to ride my bike down there with my buddies, and we used to watch literally batting practice and catch the batting practice balls. We thought that was the coolest thing. And I think in this generation and age, these kids don't get to do that anymore these days because everything's so electronic, which is fine. But I'll never forget those memories growing up on the Nimmy, right there by the Nimmy Creek. Sorry guys, like I said, I didn't know Rock was going to do that to me. My grandfather spent 36 years at Timken as a tool and die maker. So he spent 36 years there and retired, and literally had a heart attack and passed away 6 months after he retired. So he literally worked to the bone for the family. That my dad also worked for Mountain Light Excavating for 32 years before he retired as well. I grew up on a farm as well over there in Canton South. Hard work was instilled in me from the time that I was like 3 or 4 years old. I was getting up early in the morning, getting dressed for school, shower, go to school, come back home, right back on the farm. My dad didn't have a whole lot of time for me, so a lot of different baseball coaches picked me up throughout the whole time that I was growing up. One of them was obviously Rocky. Second was Don Thorley. I don't know if you guys know Don Thorley with Thor, those guys. Coach Forsey back there as well. Coach Forsey used to hit me fungos until his hands would bleed when I was playing shortstop for them growing up. So thank for those 3 people as well growing up when I was coming up. Canton South, as most people know, a lot of people know it as Slab Town, right? It's hardworking people. It's people that do the right thing. Sorry. Cut me out. It's hardworking people that people do the right things. And I'll never forget when I was in college, I met a gal whose family owned a printing company. And we fell in love with each other. Sorry. Okay. We fell in love with each other, and one thing led to another, and that's how I got into the printing industry. Is through my ex-fiance that I had at the time. Things obviously didn't work out. We ended up breaking up, and I ended up taking a job with a corporate company. And they moved me to Vegas in April 14th, 2005. So April 14th, 2005, they moved to Vegas. April of this year will be 21 years for me in Vegas. I've been in Vegas. Worked for a corporate company all the way until 2012, and that's when I broke off and started my own company. There's a gentleman out of LA that did a lot of production issues for Warner Brothers and different companies like that came to me and said, Murph, you always show up on time, you always do what you say you're going to do, and you always follow through on things. And he goes, those 3 things out here on the West Coast mean everything in the world. He goes, I don't care what you're selling or what you're doing. As long as you do those 3 things, you'll be very successful in life. So I took that to heart. One of the biggest things that I did is literally if somebody called me for something, and I said if I didn't have an answer for him, I'd call him back within 15 minutes. And if I didn't have the answer in 15 minutes, I still called him back and told him I'd at least have by the next day. And that's one of the things I try to instill in my 12-year-old son right here, who flew back with me from Vegas as well for today. He doesn't have school today, obviously, because it's President's Day. So I bring him back. And I'm trying to instill in that with him if you guys meet with him, and his name's Liam right there, trying to instill in him as you guys, talk with him. Shake people's hands, look them in the face, whatever you say you're going to do it and do it right. And then that's all. That's pretty much what I try to instill in my kids. My daughter as well is what I try to do with that. So the business side of things pretty much took off for me in 2012 when I started getting large format printing, which is the big signs that you guys see from everything from when COVID hit, you see the bleacher kill seats, the seats where the fans were sitting, all the way through, the big stuff you see in the banners that are hanging inside the Hall of Fame Stadium with the enshrinees on it. So that kind of business took off for me in 2012. I broke off and started my own business and literally had 2 printers and was paying people on the backside doors to install stuff for me just to make things happen. So I left a job that I was doing about $54 million a year in sales. I sold personally at $54 million a year in sales. Left that job and literally started everything, which I just got married in 2012 to my current wife as well, my only wife. Sorry, current wife. So I don't know how many times some of you guys have been married, but for me, this is it. If something happens, when God forbid something does, I'm not getting married again. But I do love her to death, Liam. I do love your mom. One of the biggest breaks that I ever had in my life was with Netflix. Netflix was coming out at the time. They were getting ready to start doing the streaming side of it. They needed to do a lot of billboards, a lot of posters, a lot of different items that they needed at that time. I was fortunate enough to deal with the vice president of marketing, who literally came from a company called Petco, which I'm sure you guys remember back in the day, back when they had the retail stuff. I don't even know if they have any more Petcos around. I know PetSmarts are around, but I don't see a Petco. The guy at Petco literally gave me a job one time, because the gentleman that I was competing against was a surfer out of San Diego, which is where Petco's from. And the kid that I was competing against for the job would literally go surfing from 6 to 10 every morning. And then literally from 10 to 2, he was available. And then from 2 to 6, he'd be surfing again. So with me being the person that I was, literally just, would be there on time with him and tell him what I would do and do it, he appreciated that. And Petco for me was my first big break from the gentleman that went to Netflix. But Petco for me literally turned in almost a $10 million account for me per year on the sales side, which obviously I did very, very well for that aspect of it. And one thing led to another. He went to Netflix. Netflix gentleman said, "Hey, Murph, I need you to start taking care of all my big wide format print and installs for me." And we still do that to this day. I change out almost 42 billboards a week on Sunset Avenue, on the 101 in Sunset, going down Hollywood in LA. So I have a team of 6 guys that do it every week for me over there. I don't own the install side anymore because California is absolutely just nutty to deal with on the business side. So I got rid of all the labor and outsource it now, but I still do all the printing and shipping from Vegas over to LA. Another big break for me was obviously during COVID when the NFL called and said, "Hey, Murph, we need you to start doing some of the seat kills for the New Orleans Saints." Obviously, the Raiders had just moved to Vegas from Oakland. And Mr. Davis called as well and said, give me a price on a quote. So I started doing that. That led to one thing after another. I literally did 13 stadiums out of the NFL brand for all the seat kills during COVID. So a lot of people, as bad as the pandemic was for me, it was a huge, huge upbringing on our business side for everything that we had to do. I had teams traveling across the country, installing seat kills, everything else you could think of that you guys saw on TV as we were sitting back during the pandemic when everybody was staying home. So the pandemic was bad for a lot of people. For me, business-wise, it was a big boost. That led to the Enshrinement Week, as RJ knows and Rock knows now too. Enshrinement Week was given to me by Mr. Jim Porter when he became the CEO and president over there after Mr. Baker left. And he said, "Murph, I need you to do the best you can for me, but I need you to save me money." That's pretty much what it came down to. When I gave my quote, I'll never forget, he looked at me and said, "What kind of BS are you going to give me?" That's literally what he said to me. And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're $130,000 cheaper than what we've been paying for the last 6 years." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Seriously, you're $130,000 less." And I said, "Well, I wish I would have known that." I said, "I would have just been 30." No, honest to God, no. For me, they had a VP of marketing at the time named Jennifer Barris. Jennifer Barris-Grise, which you guys might know here in town, Grise Home. She was married the Grise family. And she ran everything. And I knew her from high school when she was at Jackson Township in Jackson as a cheerleader. And she knew what I was doing and following me throughout my career when I started doing large format printing and everything. So she brought me in there. Jim and I sat down, went through everything. And when he first saw it, he was like, "What's going to happen?" Well, then we actually did the work for him for all Enshrinement that first year, and he was blown away. We literally brought the Vegas mentality to Canton, Ohio, as far as the graphics package, the flow, and everything that they do from the concert and everything else you can think of all came through our production site with us, with on the print side and everything. So he was blown away by it. I actually got a shout out that year. I don't know how many people were actually at the Hall of Fame dinner that year, but I actually got a shout out by him and Roger Goodell as well for saving so much money, being a hometown kid, coming back and still giving them the same branding material that we did for the NFL, but at the same, but a huge savings price as well. That's prideful to me, right? That means a lot. Just like coming back here, speaking in front of you people, makes, it's prideful for me. I'm very prideful of Stark County, Ohio. I'm very prideful of Canton, Ohio. I love it here. I don't love the weather. Liam was talking to some people this morning. He was like, "What do you love about Canton, Ohio?" I think it was you. Yeah. I think it was you. "Oh, I love the snow." I looked at him and I said, "What?" We walked out of the hotel room this morning, and we walked out of the hotel and the double doors opened up. It smacked us in the face, and he goes, "Whoa!" And I said, "Man, I tell you, I know." And it's not nearly as cold as it was here for a couple weeks for you guys, like it was. But we get back here. I don't know, Rock. What am I back here about every 6 weeks? I'm back here about every 6 weeks. It's nice and easy with the Breeze, with Breeze Airlines. Thank God, Breeze. Thanks for flying the Canton Akron direct. But it's nice and easy to get back and forth now with direct flights into Vegas. Obviously, business-wise, everything's pretty much done online or in conference calls and stuff like that. I do get to have to fly back when they do release the class of 2026. So everything that you see down at the hall that just went up last week, that's all my guys that came in town, put that up. They wanted it up on Monday. I didn't get art until late Thursday night, like 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Thursday night, Friday morning. And I looked at Jim and I said, "Jim, I can't get it up Monday in Canton, Ohio from Vegas. So I'll get it up Tuesday." So we had the big banners you guys see up on the side of the building. That's us. Everything internally inside the hall is all of ours as well that you see from the Stark County Proud. Stark County Pride. The new banners that they put up and everything that you see inside was all designed by my team and their team together collaborated and printed and installed. John is a great guy over there. Cecilia, their VP of creative now. She's a great girl to work with on the creative side. We do quite a bit with the NFL, and the Hall of Fame just kind of fell into our laps is what it was pretty much what happened. And I think that Jim and the guys over at the Hall of Fame seem to be pretty happy with the way things have been happening. Like I said, we brought the Vegas quality and the Vegas, I guess, spinazz to the Hall of Fame, but still saved them a ton of money at the same time. And to me, like I said, to me, that's something that I wanted to do for my hometown. My hometown's been good to me. You guys have been great. Canton, Ohio's been great. Rocky Burkwin's been, like I said, my second dad pretty much growing up after my mom passed away. And I'm pretty much open up for questions right now, if any of the questions that you guys might have. Mr. Eckinger.
What's that seat thing you talked about for COVID? What is that?
The seat kills. If you looked on, if you watched any of the NFL games during COVID, right? So you've seen the big banners that covered all the seats, like the first 30 rows from the field all the way up, and it had all the, it had everything from the advertisers for Ford, for all the big advertisers for the NFL. And it would have obviously the logos for the teams, right? Like the Raiders, for instance, had the MGM. They had MGM and they had Caesars, Caesars Rewards. They had the Raiders, obviously logo, different things. They would call them seat kills. Still to this day, we still do it in a lot of soccer stadiums that we deal with as well. Just in the corners because some of the people don't want to sit in the corners, so we'll cut out the corners. We're actually in the process right now of doing it for the A's AAA team, which is the Las Vegas Aviators. Their stadium in Vegas, I pretty much did every piece of signage inside that thing when it was built in 2017, from the digital light-up signs all the way through the printable signs now currently. And we have the contract right now currently for the Las Vegas A's, which will start playing baseball in 2028 in Las Vegas as well. So they're called seat kills.
Jason, I'll ask a question real quick
Yep.
while we're waiting. You mentioned Rocky and Thor and Phil, great coaches along the way, certainly. Talk about some of your teammates, maybe coming up through Canton South that you remember, and maybe if you got a good story.
We weren't very good, actually, to be honest with you, with Rock's first couple of years. So they might have won 250 games, but not very many of them came from me and my teammates. I think. Well, let me rephrase that. My senior year, I went 1-5 as a pitcher, but my ERA was 1.62. So Rocky didn't do a good enough job scoring runs for me to be able to win games. Because I literally lost 2-1, 1-0. I had a no-hitter against Perry going into the seventh inning with 2 outs. A no-hitter underneath the lights against Perry, and our left fielder dropped a fly ball, and we ended up losing the game 2-1. So he didn't do enough good job scoring runs for me to win enough games for him, even though I tried. Teammate-wise, we had a freshman my sophomore year by the name of Jeremy Knoll, who's still at Canton South. I'm sure you guys know the Knoll family probably. Chris Knoll played for Coach Miller. I played for Coach Miller my freshman year as well as a pitcher. I was lucky enough to be able to pitch on that team that they had with Chris Knoll and the guys that went to the regionals that year. And, Coach Miller was just, obviously you guys know he's phenomenal, just phenomenal gentleman, phenomenal guy, phenomenal person. And when he was over at the Hall of Fame, I'll never forget, when he took the position over at the Hall of Fame for the short time that he did, we would come in and see him. And still to this day, right? So you got Coach Mark Miller's over there now too, right? So Coach Miller, the football coach I grew up with, is still over there as well at the Hall of Fame. But the teammates I grew up with, like I said, a lot of the kids, to be honest with you, some of them aren't even around anymore because they've, have gone different ways in life, and some of them have passed on. It seems like, I'll be 48 on Friday, and it seems like I know of Rock 3 or 4 that have passed on and have died and moved on. The other guys, a lot of them are current coaches. Like I said, Jeremy and Chris Knoll down at Canton South. Trying to think of anybody else really. So we didn't win very many games. I can tell you that. Coach Miller over here with Central, we always had some great knockout hardball games with him. And Coach Michael and the guys at Minerva, we used to always get, those guys as well. But Coach, out of the 250 wins for Rock, I was not very many of them, so might have had 3, I think.
Technical question, with the size of those banners and the artwork that you get, how do you maintain the resolution and the sharpness of the image for something that size?
Yeah, so it's all software based. We have everything comes over usually at 300 DPI, which is pixels per inch, is what happens. And we blow it up, especially on the big banners, right? So we've done everything from, if you guys have ever seen the Indy race in Indianapolis, right? So the Marriott Marquis in downtown Indianapolis, it's always got the big wrap on it for Indianapolis. That's us as well. We don't do the NCAA stuff or anything else. A local company does that there, but we have the thing with Indy that we do. And that piece, I think, is one of the bigger ones we've ever done. It's like 560 feet wide by, I want to say 600 feet tall or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the piece is altogether. The biggest piece I've ever done was when the NBA was in their All-Star game, was in Dallas, and we wrapped the biggest, tallest banner down in window perf down in Dallas, and that was 1,100 feet tall by 300 feet wide. So it's all window perf. On the buildings, and what I say is window perf. It comes in like 48-inch rolls, all the way up to 54-inch rolls. We print them. So if you're doing 300 feet, you divide that by 4 feet. That's how many rolls it has going across each piece when my team's putting it up, going down with the staging. A lot of the bigger banners, the banners you saw during COVID, that's all what they call 13-ounce vinyl. So vinyl banners, pretty much like you guys would have. I don't want to say hanging off the baseball fences. Well, the smaller ones, yeah, like the mom and pop. Ads for the stuff hanging up on your local baseball fields. That's 13-ounce banner. The big stuff that you have on the windscreens, like we did at Canton South, like we've done at Lake Christian, like we did at Glen Oak, here in town through Rock. We did it. We're getting ready to do over in Massillon right now. The bigger stuff like that is all mesh banner. So the little perf holes that lets the wind go through it. On the south, we also did Walsh University as well. We actually are doing a huge project right now at Massillon. We're redoing a whole Massillon indoor football arena for Jeff David, for Paul Carroll David Foundation, through Beaver Excavating. And we are we're making it just like we did for Stanford University and Penn State and some of the other colleges that we've done complete redos for. So we've done everything from arenas and stadiums all the way through, Massillon, Ohio, here locally. Did I answer your question though, as far as?
Well, I was just wondering, how do you maintain the resolution on?
Well, the resolution's broken up between let's take it. Let's do 100 feet wide. So if it's 100 feet wide, divide by 4, right? It's gonna be 25 panels. 25 panels of rolls, right? If each roll is 160 feet tall, basically it's broken down per panel of coming down. So if this person's hand's over here and you have like 3 rolls on his hand, basically the hand and the pixels are going to be pixelated to the point where that's not really blown up as that big. It's not, what I'm saying? Even though the image itself is going to be 100 feet wide, this image over here might be only 6 feet wide on these 3 panels coming down the wall. Yes, sir.
How many people do you employ, and is it difficult to find skilled labor for what you do? There's a lot of do you have many competitors also?
Yes. Right now, we currently have 32 employees. 33, I guess. I can count Rock, I guess. He does get a weekly paycheck from me. Actually, I think, and by the way, I think this month actually is 3 years now with me. 3 years he's been with me, so he's got a weekly paycheck. Never missed a week. He's definitely missed a week of work, but he's never missed a week. So we have just over 30 employees right now total. When I come out for, like, we just got done doing the Super Bowl up in San Francisco. We didn't do everything out there for them. We did a lot of the branding material for them, for the NFL, for the Super Bowl. I do we do a lot of the Super Bowl. We do the draft in Indianapolis. We obviously do the enshrinement here. And obviously we do a lot of the teams throughout the United States as well. Between those 32 people, a lot of them are designers. We have 6 designers on staff. Literally, I have 10 press operaters, 3 general managers, and salespeople like Rock that are out there right now for me. We outsource a lot of our labor and installs just because a lot of the stuff is within 3 days of print. Obviously, if we get big productions where we have something like the Super Bowl where we're setting up for a full month, it doesn't really, that doesn't really take up too much labor. But a lot of networking that I've built over the years, especially here, like for the last 5 years with Enshrinement, we do camp and share rental, and those guys, we use them for all the stuff on the staging and different things we do that you guys see through the Enshrinement Day and everything else we do. The labor wise is something that we don't really have to worry about because we've outsourced a lot of it through the networking people that I deal with throughout the United States. One of the biggest things here with the Enshrinement is obviously we have the football game, right, on Thursday night. Literally between that night from the football game, when it happens, we're tearing down as soon as those guys get off the stage, as soon as those guys get off the field. So we're tearing down everything that you see in the end zones and flipping it for Enshrinement Day on Saturday afternoon. So we usually flip that, and it's probably about 36 hours, but we usually take about 27 hours to flip the whole stadium from what you guys see with the field into the Saturday or Sunday Enshrinement Day.
You ever get any complaint? Because it don't look like me, or
It's funny because as far as the enshrinees go, is that what you're asking about? So obviously they like to use a lot of the younger pictures, which is understandable. We don't get too many complaints because a lot of the stuff is signed off by the Hall or the NFL from their design standpoint. I do get some complaints when they're doing parties, the private parties, and we print for them because they have their local people, their handlers, right, that don't really know anything about art and different things. And they'll send me a file. And why is my nose all pixelated? Well, this, we literally told him this is what's going to be if we don't run that. He's not going to care. He's going to be too drunk or, he's going to be drinking and having a good time. Okay. And that's literally, it's one of those things where you can print 500 business cards. And if you mess up their name on the business cards or a number, but you can do a $500,000 order perfectly for them, they're still going to remember that business card. So yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. You get complaints in business, and we try to make it as best we can. That's a great question. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of curious, like the big banner you put on the Hall of Fame with the enshrinees,
Yes.
the size of that, what's it weigh about, and how do you secure that to a building with these high winds that we've been having? So that it just doesn't come off or doesn't tear the building
Sure.
apart?
Sure. No, that's also 13-ounce banner vinyl, and we actually secure it with a framing system that we've developed over the years. We came in 5 years ago. Actually, they had a spring-loaded system. So if you go over there, if you look at it now, it's actually a turn-down system with bolts and screw guns. And one of the reasons why is because in the past they did have some high winds that would come in and tear it off before I started doing it. But now it's just an L-frame channel system. And we literally just have the screw in bolts where we have grommets to come in and secure it and pull it tight. Once it's pulled tight against the brick wall, it doesn't have any ability for the wind to get back there behind it, so it keeps it off. But that thing, as far as weight goes, it weighs about 466 pounds when it's all folded up. Before we put it out. And like I said, we just put it up on last Tuesday. And you guys were what, 2 degrees? Yeah, it was 2 degrees. So my biggest thing was, because I knew Jim and the guys at the Hall of Fame, my biggest thing was the look of it when it was going to be done. Because as vinyl folds, as you know, when you put it out, just like paper, it's going to have to, go back to the membrane will go back to itself after the heat hits it. Once the sun warms up. Well, the next day, thank God, Wednesday last week, I think you guys got up to 30 degrees here, and the sun actually hit it, and all those folds actually went out. So there's a timeline on the Hall of Fame website. Actually, if you look at it, they just put it up last week. There's a timeline of us going down, taking down the old one and putting a new one up. It takes about 3.5 hours to put that one up. So, and then we did all the stuff inside as well. We did that within over a 12-hour period. Some good questions. Sorry, guys, I'm not a football guy as far as like up here, but I am a businessman, so I'm open to all your questions. Yes, sir.
What's the cost of those,
Of what?
of the banners?
What do I sell it for? Look how nice my son is back there. No. Let me put it to you this way. I give obviously a fair price, like I said, and that's one of the reasons why I come back and continuously do the work that I do back here. Not only here in town, but that's why people like Jeff David and the Paul and Carol David Foundation call me to do stuff at Massillon. That's the reason why we have Glen calling us, McKinley with Mr. Joe Bogdan, the guys everything that you guys have seen from. I don't know if you guys have seen the print on the side of the building on the field house wall that faces the state, that faces the highway, that says McKinley. It's got the McKinley mural. That's from our team as well. We came up with that project for them. So to answer your question on the big banner out there, the print side's about $6,000. The install side's about $4,500. And then everything internal. When we turn everything over, it's about $30,000. That includes the graphics internally as well inside. And I will tell you this: the Pro Football Hall of Fame obviously pays their bills. Yes, sir.
Who are some of your other major customers besides in the sports area?
On the Hollywood side, obviously I got Netflix. On the media side, we do a lot of work with HBO. And obviously in Vegas, we do a ton of work with Caesars. Caesars Entertainment Group has probably grown into our top 5 customer in the country that we deal with. We actually do a lot of wholesale as well. So I actually own 4 Amazon sites as well for Amazon printing that you can literally go on and Amazon stores, I guess is what you want to call it. You can literally go on site and upload your images and do different things, everything from ATV graphics all the way through, if you guys want family pictures on canvas, different things like that we've developed. We have full metal fabrication as well. So you can actually get custom grills put on your pickup truck all the way through, CNC, lasering. That's something we got into right after COVID hit. A buddy of mine in Vegas was actually not going out of business, sorry, he was getting divorced. He was like, "Hey Murph, I need to offload this thing, if you know what I mean." And I said, "Okay." And he had a full fabrication shop. So the fabrication side of that aspect came on, and then we got smart enough to do a lot of the Amazon stores online. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Amazon stores, obviously there's a local company in town called Society Brands. That's a big sponsor here in town with different things. That's pretty much what they do. Is they're an Amazon aggregator of Amazon stores that literally, everything from pet supplies to everything. They'll come in and basically buy the people out and say, "We're going to blow this thing up and even bigger." And they've done a great job with it. So yeah, it's a good question though. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir.
What happened to the old banner? An example, last year's Hall of Fame class, is it recycled, destroyed, or somebody hanging on the side of the?
So billboards, yeah. So there's a company called Circle Graphics out there. They're the biggest billboard printer in the world. They literally print everything from Budweiser to, the old Marlboro brands for the Marlboro Man from back in the day. They're out of Denver, Colorado is where they're out of. And they actually came up with a program that we were able to send all of our vinyl back to without any cost to them or any cost to us. And they actually recycle it back through. Or we've actually been giving out to farmers for the hay bales is what the newest thing is. And so the farmers for the hay bales will wrap it in the field, different things like that they use it for. Sometimes, most of the time, it's probably recycled is what it is. Like the big banner for the Hall of Fame. We don't recycle that. I actually take it back to Vegas. I hung in my shop back in Vegas. So it's a good showpiece back there for people come through Vegas. I have a great partnership here in Massillon, Ohio with a company called Imagine This, which is right over here off of 21. They're great people to work with. They have taken some of the banners as well, and asked me if they could use them as well over Massillon. So they've taken them over there. I don't know what they do with them after that, but most of the time they are recycled. Big billboards, I can tell you that when they come off, they're either used in the farming industry for hay bale wraps or some kind of other purpose. Any more questions? No? Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Just one more comment. I really enjoyed your speech. I enjoyed how successful you are in business. And it's nice to know that a kid from Kansas South can get out of town and be somebody.
Yes.
Has there ever been anybody that you would refuse not to print for?
It's funny, yes, it's funny you say that. A lot of campaigns, let me just put it to you that way. There's a lot of campaigns that we got burned. I got burned for almost $500,000 one time on a big campaign for a presidential person who did not get elected. And I was not smart enough because I was still new in that industry of saying, yeah, I mean, when somebody calls up and says, "Hey, can you do so-and-so for the Democratic Party for the state of Nevada?" You're like, heck yeah, let's do it, right? Because you're thinking government is going to pay. I had no idea it was private funding that was paid for it. And literally as soon as he lost, they closed up shop and never paid a bill. So I do not get into the politics side very often. I do some stuff, local commissioners
for people that I deal with that are friends. In fact, oh gosh, I can't think of, what's the gentleman's name at the Hall of Fame now? That was at McKinley.
Adrian Allen.
Adrian Allison, sorry, thank you. Adrian's wife is running again, I guess, for, I think it's commissioner or council here in town, I can't remember, but he asked me to donate a little bit to, he called me and said, can you do something? I have no problem donating campaign prints for different things like that, and I'm actually glad to do that, but yeah, when it comes down to the big political stuff, I will not ever dip my toe in that. So, when they say they don't pay their bills, they don't pay their bills. But they sure do take the IRS check every quarter from us, that's for sure. Anything else? Guys, it's been awesome. Thanks for having me.